In 1973, entertainment was changed forever. The first commercially successful video game broke new ground in the interactive entertainment industry. Today, video games are a multi-billion-dollar industry and come in all shapes and sizes. And as we enter the 21st century, it's only getting better. Welcome to Playing Games, a look at how video games are made. I'm Greg Rosicek. From concept to finished product, we will examine one of today's hottest video game developers. With hits like Shattered Steel and Baldur's Gate, the team at the Bioware Corporation knows what it takes to make a great game. We'll meet with artists and programmers and get their perspective on what goes into making a game. We'll also get a behind-the-scenes look at Bioware, and we'll also get a sneak peek at some of their upcoming projects.
Back in '94, '93, we had started to do some medical education. So that was the first thing we did together. And our third partner back then was Augustine Yip. And the three of us were doctors, and it seemed like a natural fit to do medical education work.
Bioware started when we were doing medical education software, like doing software for the University of Alberta. And the games thing, sort of, we knew some people that were doing games, and we joined up with them and we'll do it. And really that's what happened.
We ran into some talented programmers working on an early engine prototype for Shattered Steel, for what later became Shattered Steel, rather. And we decided in February '95 that we were going to go for it.
If anything, it's been sort of a progression and an evolution as compared to just one day I sat down and said, that's games. You know, we started doing it and doing it more and doing it more to the point now where, you know, the vast majority of our time is spent at Bioware and a minimum amount of our time is spent doing medicine.
It's always been a dream. It's a dream job for us, really. I mean, we've been huge fans of video games ever since we were kids. So, I mean, when Greg and I met in medical school, it was sort of a natural, you know, there's a natural desire to just go and, you know, make entertainment software. When you know, there was an opportunity to do so, we jumped on it. So.
Describe your history.
I started at Bioware in about March-ish of '96. Started as a designer on Baldur's Gate. When I was hired as like employee number like 6 or some crazy number like that. Was designing for BG until about the summer of '96, and they moved me into a line producer job, which has a lot to do with organization and just general project management type stuff.
About 3 years ago, when they were basically just starting on Baldur's Gate. Well, actually, at that time, it wasn't called Baldur's Gate. It wasn't called anything. It might not have been forgotten. They're basically making their deals with Interplay. But they were pretty well going to sign a contract soon. So they hired on a couple guys, about 5 or 6 guys from Grand Prairie. And I was actually the last person to come on board.
I came here and I interviewed Ray. Did as much as I could to foster excitement about what was happening. And so I go from there to, can you do anything else? I said, well, I can draw, okay. and modestly, yeah. And I said, okay, when do you want to start?
My girlfriend at the time was here in Edmonton. She's also doing animation. And there's not a lot of animation gigs in Edmonton. So, we were very fortunate enough to be able to stay in the city, and I found out about Bioware. Previously, I was working at another company doing animation for more commercial stuff. And, yeah, I heard about Bioware through John here, and came on board for animation.
Pretty much
when I first heard about the company, it was through an ex-coworker of mine. And he said, I know these guys, they're making video games, and I know you're interested in this, so why don't you go check them out? And I'm thinking, wow, it's probably just a couple guys in their basement making video games. This is Edmonton, after all. So then my wife said, no, you should go check it out. And I thought, at the very least, I'd be able to maybe get some art contracts from them. But the difference was they had a contract with a no.
Came to Bioware, started working part-time as a just tester, playing the game actually, on our earlier one shot deal. So I did limited testing and basically just put in my hours, and then I was hired 2 weeks later.
What role do you play with Bioware?
A lot of the planning and back stuff. End up doing everything from, like, yesterday we were doing mock-ups for a box, and I was taking a look at different pieces of art and whatnot, down to I'm sending a new English version of Baldur's Gate down to Interplay just using the F2P, right? So it really, it's basically anything that doesn't qualify as someone else's job is your job, which is actually, we're going to get right down to it. Keeps it interesting because every day is different, every day is news, so it's definitely something good for someone with a short attention span. You know, it's always something different, which is cool.
Well, with Baldur's Gate 1, basically it's kind of I started off with just doing a story, right? And then from the story, I also did like design, did the concepts for the interface, and then the concepts of how to use the rules in the game.
I'm the director of conceptual, which essentially means that working in very close conjunction with the writers, who are the principal designers of, and the pastiche and milieu that the characters maneuver in. I create all the sets and the environments, character costumes, and anything else under the sun, icons, iconography, diapering, any superfluous touches, detailing, those sorts of things usually start with me and with the writers, and then it goes from me further on down the line.
At Bioware, I'm the animation director, and what that means essentially is we have a department of a bunch of animators. We have 6 animators, and it was a large enough group of people to have an animation director. And what I do is essentially help coordinate the animation project, make sure the animation is going smoothly and correctly, and also, if I get a chance, although it's rare, I get to do some animation.
Technically, I'm the director of programming, which basically means all the programmers in the company are under my sort of domain, so to speak. Basically, it means I get to pick the projects I get to be lead programmer on, and I have to do all the performance reviews too.
The function that I do is basically making sure that everything works and there's no flaws, and that goes with playing the game as well as visually, like if you like it or not. Whether the rules apply, whether things are going to be okay, or if it's going to be confusing, or if people have problems trying to, even aesthetic design issues like that, to like compatibility.
Could you summarize the steps involved in the production of a video game?
You initially start with a concept and idea, sometimes given to you by the publisher, sometimes from within. For instance, Baldur's Gate 2 is more within. You start off with like a feature in the game, what the game hopes to accomplish, whatnot, followed by the layout of the rough features, specifically as in department, so you can figure out personnel, people, timelines, whatnot. This, of course, doesn't include any of the contract stuff, like, for instance, the executive producer, Ray, deals with the contracts, the actual money, the background stuff that keeps the actual project running. It goes all the way down to the monthly planning stage, at which point to your department heads, your art director, your head of programming, your head of design, and they usually break it down for you further than that. And you just go month to month, hit your milestones, get it out. It's it's a lot more difficult than I could ever make it sound, but no, the toughest part of any project is honestly finishing it. Any group of people can sit together and say, let's make a game and get somewhere into the project, right? It's not that big of a deal. But finishing it takes a lot of work, a lot of organization, and just the will to do it, and it's tough. And the people here at Bioware are really good, so we managed to finish.
It was mostly, you know, just concept stuff, and this is what we'd like, and then it went into more specific stuff of like describing areas. And then from there, we'd get areas back. And actually, I know a story, after that, we also would be writing dialogue, lots and lots of dialogue. Our dialogue kept on increasing, because the size of the game was pretty big, and we didn't want it to be empty. So we also write dialogue about midway. Like the first half is concept, and about middle of the game, we're writing tons of dialogue, like shitloads of dialogue. Like with Baldur's Gate, we had 450,000 words. So it's quite a bit of writing there you put in the game. And so then we start scripting. Like we'll start putting giving the characters the scripts that make them do what they do. And so we have to learn the scripting language. Like for each game, it'll probably be a different set of language that the programmers create. So you have to learn that, and then you have to start implementing that to place all the creatures and the items and make the spells and basically everything. Like we start creating the spells. So, and then at the very end, we're chaotically running around trying to fix all the bugs that invariably in a game this size will appear.
And it's up to artists to populate that hardware with something that you know, is of interest, is invigorating, exciting, interesting, peculiar, odd, offbeat, whatever description you choose. And graphic design is obviously fundamental to the core of that. You need to, you can't just be, I think we're past the point be a kid with some good ideas working in his basement. It's a community effort. So an artist has to be able to work in conjunction with others. There is in the industry, unfortunately, prima donnas, but it doesn't help because it truly is a more than human experience. Like you have 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 artists all working in conjunction with one another, their individual would have the capability of doing. So front and center, graphic design is one of the 2 most important elements of game design.
It's fairly complex. There's a lot of things like establishing, you know, your camera and making sure your camera is locked down. Once you get the characters, the models built, and you are able to put some sort of bone structure into the model, then the animator, you know, moves the character around, and then it would be a matter of saving out those frames. And there's a certain amount of processing that has to be done to those frames, which is fairly complex. So you're always working within a lot of constraints. And of course, by the time it's the game, to be able to see your feedback, it's a long process. So the more it's the more or the less the less time you have to perfect the animation. And with a 3D game, we're able to get the animation into the game a lot quicker, and that's the advantage. You're able to see it up and running and look at the way you want it to move, and it has the character. Then you can go back and redo it. But with a 2D game, going back and redoing it takes a lot of time.
It starts off, usually the producer has a overall view of the project, but it is obviously shaped quite heavily by your lead designer, your head programmer, what's possible, and creatively influenced by, in the end anyways, almost everyone on the project. For Baldur's Gate 2, let's say, the initial story came from James, our lead of design, but will be influenced by Ray, me. Like we sat down, we discussed things, we talk, we bounce ideas off each other. Existing franchise, as it were. A whole new concept is usually, not always, but usually within industry, the producer comes up with something neat and exciting or whatever and makes the pitch to. He's got to make the pitch to get the cash, to get the people, to do the planning and all that fun stuff. Yeah, it really does vary, but that's generally how I've seen it happen anyways.
Hey, today we're going to take a small tour of Bioware, producers of Baldur's Gate, so follow me. camera here. We're just doing a little documentary of Bioware.
All right.
And we just wanted to see what your projects, that kind of thing.
Actually, I'm doing the modeling for Baldur's Gate 2.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to take a look at that?
I have no clue, actually.
You have no clue?
Probably, I don't see why not. What I'm doing right now is just doing basic models and then scene setup for some larger scenes. For instance, you'd have a complete dungeon area. And then each object then would be placed within. And then, you do little renders here, there, of the objects that you build within this program. LW, basically.
Cool.
Great.
So right now I'm working on a graphical interface here. So I'm just sort of writing some code so that it places some of these sensitive to a mouse click and things like that.
Great. Thank you. What you working on here?
I'm working on making landforms and terrain for the same game that Casey just showed you. So yeah, luckily I've got something to show you here. We've got different sort of cliff. So here we'll have sea eventually, and then the different land heights. And I'm just working at the moment on materialing them and making them look like grass and rock.
Okay.
On designing characters.
Designing characters, wicked.
Yeah, we're doing drawings of character design. The artist can't just draw anything they want to fit in. Number of triangles, number of parts, number of colors. So,
And so, what's this guy here? Bad guy? Good guy?
Well, see, it depends what color he is. We're trying to make a model that'll work for any character you want to roll up. Obviously, not anything. That's a plate mail suit, and you can change the colors of the trim and the body independently. So on this guy, I could have brown leather hair, I could have black leather hair. So if your colors are light and happy, you're nice, or if they're dark and evil, you're nasty.
Wicked. Some wicked stuff. Well, thank you very much for your time. Do you have any advice for somebody who wants to make video games?
To get your foot in the door, it's tough. You got to be in the right place, the right time, and they like you at whenever.
The best thing to do is actually make a technology demo or something that you can say, this is what I did. The biggest problem we have with interviewing is people either don't have industry experience, which is fairly common, and they also have only worked on teams before, which is good, but it doesn't sort of show what they can do as an individual.
It takes some talent and persistence, and you have to be very self-starting and self-motivated.
It's a hard thing to do. It sounds like, I guess if you really are serious about it, it's a lot of work. I think it's not just sit down and have fun and it'll just kind of happen. It's like probably one of the most time-consuming and draining things I can imagine.
As you can see, there's a lot that goes into making a great video game. I hope you've enjoyed our look at making video games. And remember, keep on playing.